In today's lesson, we'll be learning how to solve problems involving right triangles. The three primary trigonometric ratios can be best remembered by the mnemonic SOHCAHTOA. SO stands for sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. Ka stands for cos theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And TOA stands for tan theta equals opposite over adjacent. And it is important to remember that the terms opposite and adjacent are relative terms. These three formulas only work for right triangles, so I'm gonna make these right triangles. If I was looking at this angle, that would make this side the opposite side, this would be the adjacent side, and the hypotenuse is going to be opposite to the 90-degree angle. Conversely, if I was talking about this angle, that would make this side the adjacent side, this side the opposite side, and the hypotenuse would still be opposite to the 90-degree angle. So please remember that the terms opposite and adjacent are relative terms. They're relative to the angle that you're either solving for or the angle that you've been given. In some of these questions, you'll see angles referred to as the angle of depression or the angle of elevation. The angle of depression is the angle measured below the horizontal, and the angle of elevation is the angle measured above the horizontal. And you can see examples with the diagrams given below. In our first example, we've been given a word problem. When tackling a word problem, it's important to highlight or circle your key pieces of information. Alexa and Emma are looking up at their house from the backyard. From Alexa's point of view, the top of the house is at an angle of elevation of 40 degrees. From Emma's point of view, directly closer to the house, it is 60 degrees. The house is 15 meters high. How far apart are the two girls? Now that we've identified our key pieces of information, we should make ourselves a sketch or a diagram. Let's begin by drawing our house. Emma is closer to the house than Alexa, so I'm going to have her over here, and I'm going to call that E for Emma. And Alexa is a little bit further from the house, and I'm going to call that A. We also know that the house is about 15 meters high. The other pieces of information that we know is that when Emma looks at the top of the house, it is an angle elevation of 60 degrees. That is relative to the horizontal. So I'm going to call that 60 degrees. And Alexa, when she looks at the top of the house, that is an angle elevation of 40 degrees. And you can already tell that we have the makings of two triangles. So we kind of want to analyze each of these triangles individually. But ultimately, you want to find the distance between the two girls, which would be from here to here. In order to do that, you're going to have to find the distance from the house to Emma and the distance from the house to Alexa, and then you're going to have to subtract those two values to get the distance between them. So that's going to be our overall strategy. Let's begin by drawing our triangle for Emma. We already know that it is a right triangle. We've been told that this is an angle of 60 degrees and the house is 15 meters tall. What I want to figure out is I want to figure out this side length. Before we begin, let's step back and analyze the information that we've been given. We know that this is 60 degrees. Relative to this angle, this side would be the opposite side, and this side would be the adjacent side. That would be the hypotenuse. So we want to use a trigonometric ratio that contains the opposite side as well as the adjacent side. That trigonometric ratio would be tan. So tan theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. At this point, I'm just going to substitute in my known values. I know that the angle is 60 degrees. I know that the opposite side is 15 meters. And the adjacent side, I'm going to use a variable. I'm going to use a variable as x. You can use any variable that you like. You want to isolate x. However, x is in the denominator. Now, there are different ways to solve this question from this point. I'm going to do it with cross multiplication. I'm going to make this a fraction, so that's tan 60 over 1. At this point, you're going to cross multiply. So I'm going to get x multiplied by tan of 60 degrees, and I'm going to have 1 multiplied by 15. Now, I want to isolate x, but x is stuck with tan 60 degrees. So let's divide both sides by tan of 60 degrees. The tans cancel out, and all you're left with is x, which is exactly what you're looking for. And that would be 1 times 15, which is 15 over tan 60. So at this point, all you need to do is punch that into your calculator. So 15 divided by tan 60 is equal to about 8.66. Therefore, we've just discovered that Emma is about 8.66 meters from the house. Next, we want to figure out how far Alexa is from the house. Let's draw her triangle. So we know it is a right triangle. We know that this is going to be 40 degrees. We know that the height of the house is 15 meters, and we want to figure out her distance from the house. So let's analyze the information that we've been given. We know that this angle is 40 degrees. Relative to this angle, this side would be the opposite side, that would be the adjacent side, and that would be the hypotenuse. Therefore, we need to choose a trigonometric ratio that uses the opposite side as well as the adjacent side. Using SOHCAHTOA, you should conclude that the best trigonometric ratio to use is tan theta, which is opposite over adjacent. You want to substitute in your known values. So tan 40 degrees, the opposite side is 15 meters, and for the adjacent side, I'm going to use a different variable from my previous step. Instead of x, I'm going to use y. You can use any variable that you want. At this point, you want to isolate y, but it is stuck in the denominator. There are different ways of doing this, but I'm going to use a cross multiplication method. I'm going to multiply these numbers, so you get y multiplied by tan of 40 degrees and 1 multiplied by 15. We want to isolate y, but y is still stuck with this tan 40. Therefore, let's divide both sides by tan 40. The tan 40 on the left side is going to cancel out because anything divided by itself is 1, and anything multiplied by 1 doesn't really change. So we have y, and 1 times 15, pretty simple, that's 15, and tan 40 stays exactly the same. Now at this point, all you need to do is punch that into your calculator. So 15 divided by tan 40 degrees, and that is going to be approximately 17.88 meters. Therefore, we've just figured out that Alexa is about 17.88 meters from the house. However, we're not done yet. We need to figure out what is the distance between Emma and Alexa. So we're going to take our two distances and we're going to subtract them. So you can just say 17.88 meters, subtract 8.77 meters. Just punch that into your calculator. And you're going to get approximately 9.11 meters. And before we finish up, let's write a concluding statement. Say, therefore, Emma and Alexa are 9.11 meters apart. So, it is important to remember that there are many different ways to approach these questions, but the general strategy is to use SOHCAHTOA, Pythagorean theorem, if you need it, and to draw a diagram.